Yeah, yeah. Oh no, that's a great story to me. Maybe a controversial question, Polly, but do you feel in your writings or in your personal philosophy, when you've been discussing it with others, do you think there's ever a confusion between philosophy and religion? I mean, to me, I differentiate those two terms, but I wonder whether sometimes people have felt they've been receiving a mixed message, or they might be confused about the fact. I mean, because for instance, if you were discussing someone who came from a particular religious background, or was attached to a particular institution, um, is there potentially a conflict where they may feel that, well, you know, my philosophy isn't really down the Eastern path. I'm not quite sort of tied into that same sort of religious belief. What's that? Does that ever become troublesome? That difference between spirituality and religiousness?
It doesn't. It doesn't for me, and it's an excellent question, and it's one that we could like literally spend about an audiobook's worth of time discussing. So,
Okay,
and I'm going to give you my opinion on this. And
thank
one of
you.
the other beautiful parts of sort of like of the Buddhist philosophy is it always reminds you that as someone who doesn't inherently exist because of the nature of impermanence, that anything I've got to say is always opinion. So I always preface anything I say, I think, this is opinion, you know, this isn't fact. And I think a lot of us actually masquerade our own opinion as personal fact. So
Hmm.
for the kind of philosophies I work within, they aren't philosophies that exclude other belief systems. And I'm not interested in any way in having a belief system which is privileged or preferenced. You know, I don't come from the school of my God is bigger than your God. So everything that I do and the work that I do is always about whatever belief system you bring. I'm a big fan of faith. I think when people have a
Yeah,
faith of any sort, as long as that faith isn't out to dominate and to exclude, it gives people an anchor. And so I really celebrate seeing people of all faiths who are living in that in the way that that I think most religions are meant to be lived, which is kindness to others, compassion, doing unto others. You know, if you look back at all of the fundamental doctrines, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, they all have a
mm,
very, very similar set of underlying laws, which
yeah,
have been
yeah.
over centuries changed by humans, not by the sort of the bodhisattvas that came before. Or so because I very much sit in a Buddhist philosophy and a yogic philosophy, neither of them are exclusive. All of them fit in
No,
perfect lockstep
quite
with
the opposite.
everyone
Quite the
else.
opposite.
Yeah,
Quite the
yeah.
opposite, Polly, actually, in a visit to India last year, and just some of my readings
Mm.
myself, but it really coalesced on the visit that you what perhaps one of the differences, maybe it is a difference, but I had this great sense while I was there that that particular Hindu was about it was rather than about exclusiveness, it was about
Yeah,
inclusiveness. And
absolutely.
one of the spectacular examples of that, I think, was that there was some sort of British tyrant who was there during the times of the Raj,
Mm.
who was you know, very nasty person, you know, done all sorts of horrible things, and then had died. And there was actually a little shrine dedicated to this person where people of Hindu belief would actually go, and they would actually go and you know, attend to this particular shrine. And to me, that was just the most incredible. Again, that big turning on its head. That, you know,
Mm.
we think of spirituality as you know, as all about goodness and all about, but it goes much further, doesn't it? It goes into understanding and things like, and compassion can look very. To me, that was the strangest look compassion had ever had.
Oh, see, I don't see that, because I see that, you know,
No.
in terms of the development of karma and merit, it's always about, you know, in the Buddhist language, it's all sentient beings. And it's a really interesting thing in the West particularly, because we tend to go, I love all those sentient beings who are just like me, but that guy over there who's a pedophile and that guy over there who's this, oh, I don't love them, I couldn't possibly love them.
Mm,
What Buddhism asks us to do is to understand that we are all born with the equalizer of suffering. And so while we are all suffering, we can't choose who we want to give service to and who we want to be of service to and who we want to care about and who we don't, because
yeah.
that automatically means you're not in service to all sentient beings. And I think in the Hindu perspective, that's again all about all of us being one. We all come back to this kind of notion that we're all one. And so it doesn't matter what other people are believing. You don't stop creating positive and good karma with them. You don't, because the minute you have a bad thought or you're angry towards them or you don't put a beautiful offering on that shrine, you're creating a situation of negative karma. So in the Hindu sense, that's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. But I think that, again, and why this is probably too big a discussion for here is that
religion I can't help myself, Polly.
No, and I love this so much. And, you know, religion is very different to spirituality. And I think the problem with religion is that it has a lot of rules. And if you have fundamental rules, which are right speech, right body, right mind, which is kind of that's the kernel of Buddhism, but it's also really the kernel of Hinduism. And Hinduism, we talk about it like it's a singular thing, but Hinduism has, 300 million gods, deities, there's different ways of worship all the way through. So that it's almost like saying, if we talk about Christianity, like one person's Christianity is going to be very different to someone else's Christianity. And religion sits in there with rules and with all kinds of different things. So for your original question, I always write and speak always from the disclaimer that you bring to the discussion your set of beliefs. There is no better or worse way of doing it, and you incorporate them the way you do. And particularly, it was a big thing with the Good Hustle, talking about God and divinity, and that's such an incredibly personal discussion for people. But the idea of how do you articulate something which has got infinite meanings for infinite people in a way that isn't going to exclude people or make them feel angry so I had to spend quite a lot of time in the setup sort of saying, divinity can be anything, and it might be riding a horse, and it might be patting a dog, and it might be, spending time praying with Jesus, it might be doing mantra as a Buddhist, it might be going to a shrine, it might be anything, and whatever it is, it's your thing. And it's this, for me, it's not about teaching you how to do a thing which is so personal to you. And I'm quite happy to talk about what it is for me, but again, it's like, it's entirely personal. But for me, it's a feeling. It's a feeling of emancipation from the weight of the world. And that's really what trying to release that suffering is all about.
What a lovely point of view. I think to me, the way I hear the argument is life is a good or a bad life, but life is probably about building relationships and quite possibly less about building institutions.